Has Gesture got the best hog out of all of the main tank players in the league? My brain says yes, but I might be forgetting somebody. Is there anybody else? I mean, maybe Super if he's worked on it, because Super's hog did actually look pretty good in the Justice game. But out of all of the people that I had seen play Roadhog on main tank before this weekend, I would have said Gesture has the best. Oh, Hydration. Yeah, I mean, is Hydration really a main tank? Anyway, my point is, Gesture's got a great hog. Gesture's got a big fat hog that gets a lot of work done. Sado hog? Do a poll on whether I should go to bed or not. Pog, pog, pog. You have a problem, Crunch. Okay, so Seoul are going to run Hog Diva with the Pharah. So this is a pretty good composition. I quite like it. It's slow. It gets value over time as well, because Prophet is going to be able to hit a shit ton of rockets, and Gesture's going to be able to get hooks over time as well. It can't really occupy space in the same kind of way. I mean, maybe the Zarya version of it is better from what we've seen from the Washington Justice, but the Diva allows you to be a bit more punishing for the counter. Like, the Diva is very good at being able to mitigate the power of the Reaper and also punish Gushui on the Winston. We didn't really have very high hopes for Hangzhou, though, because Hangzhou normally struggle to adapt to metas. And the DPS players aren't really naturally suited to these. Why aren't they playing Godsby? Why aren't they playing Godsby? Where is Godsby? God, Prophet's Pharah. Fucks. I saw somebody in... Where was it? Maybe it was someone on Reddit, maybe it's someone on Twitter, I can't remember, saying Prophet is not an elite tier DPS player, he's just a Genji Tracer 2 trick. You dumb himbo. You stupid mammal. Thoughts on creative starting over Badosin? I hadn't even noticed. I hadn't even looked at the roster in that much detail because I had just assumed that creative was not starting. That's interesting, actually. I don't think there's a big, like, hero pool difference between the two of them. But I do know that Badosin was previously calling for London, and I assumed that he was also calling for Seoul. Could be a mid-air EMP coming through here. Almost looked like he wanted to go for it. Nice individual hack, just utilizing the defense matrix of QOQ to be able to pull that one off. Rez, though, onto Gesture. QOQ goes down to Toby. Good God. Beat used. I'm not really sure why Hangzhou decided to move off the Reaper. I mean, presumably it's just not great against the Diva version of this composition with the Hog Diva. But yeah, maybe it's just better at being able to get consistent damage in against this version of the comp. The new Pharah changes are so strange. Why would the developers want Pharah players to have to touch the ground occasionally? It seems like an enormous nerf to the hero. The Pharah changes just seem so conceptually bad. What were the changes? They made it so that when you fly through the air, it takes more fuel. So you can't just stay in the air constantly anymore. Okay, Nano Boost onto Prophet. That's dangerous. Because he just doesn't have to be scared of anything anymore. You know, doesn't have to worry about shit. Just play like a Chad. Oh, nice pulse bomb onto Gesture, I suppose. But the res should be available. Oh, the hack to deny the res. Pretty nice from Architect, but they They just bait them into sightlines and then Prophet's hitting them with rockets. This is the same kind of thing that the Washington Justice do very well with Tuba. Tuba's fire has looked so good in these playoffs because the way that his team plays, if you want to punish his team, you have to go into his fire sightlines. And it's a pretty similar situation here. Gestures only come back on ball in order to get back to the point. Prophet is clapping on the Farah. But I think it's quite an easy comp to play Farah with. Do I think Alarm is Rookie of the Year? Yes, in my opinion, Alarm is the Rookie of the Year. But I could see people giving it to Lee Jae-gon instead. I would personally disagree, but I think there's a very good argument for Lee Jae-gon to win Rookie of the Year. I don't think anybody else has a valid argument to be able to beat those two. I think there's some other fantastic rookies this year. People like Ans, Lip, Krong. There's probably some others as well that I'm forgetting. But anyway, there's a bunch of great rookies. But none of them have a stronger argument than Alarm or Lee Jae-gon. Chipsa has 100% win rate. Yes, true. Wait, hello? Was that supposed to go there? What do you want?
Don't know if you've talked about this yet, but what are your thoughts on Jahong and Miro saying that they want to come back to the league?
Did Miro say he wants to come back to Overwatch League? I mean, I think that Jahong could play in the Overwatch League again. Miro, I think, would struggle. He's been looking for team for months. That is interesting. I mean, Miro kind of got left behind in terms of his main tank play. I think he was kind of stuck in the past. He didn't really adapt, but if he's got like a new fire to learn and, you know, get good again, maybe he could be good. There is a lack of really strong main tanks in the Overwatch League. It's one of the positions that is the most competitive at the high level, but it's, I think, the role that would be easiest to get into the Overwatch League on. But there aren't that many great main tanks in contenders and stuff either, I think. You know, the difference between the contenders and bottom Overwatch League level and the top Overwatch League level is the biggest on that role. So, hey Sideshow, did you hear that Reinforce really wants to get back into Owl? Do you think he can do it? Yeah, probably. Anything you put your mind to, you can do. Yeah. I think you could do it, Jonathan. I think Bren could make the Overwatch League as well. Wide people happy. All right, let's have a look. Wait, let me rewind this a little bit because I wasn't focused. Okay, so second round, Seoul Dynasty still gonna be running the Hog and the Diva. Why are you running both of your main tanks on off tanks when you have two off tanks? I mean, Gesture makes sense, but why are you running Marvel on Diva? It don't make no sense. It just logically do not make a sense. I don't understand. Okay. Hangzhou are running the Reaper and the Junkrat here with double shield. They won 3-0 twice? I know. I mean, how can you argue with results? But at the same time, it doesn't make sense. I don't like the Sigma here, generally speaking. I think the Rein Zarya wins the mirror fight. No way! The Madman! The absolute genetic freak! What is that? What in the Lord's name is that coming out from Architect? Farah is a Junkrat counter? No, fuck you. Wow, Elwie Maximus, thanks for the 2 months. Look at this again. Baby. What a shot. What a shot. Gushue slept, gesture hooks Adora. And even though Architect is fucking... No, they're still going to win, right? They're still going to win. Creative kills Bebe. Leguminote. Thanks for the 3 months. Punk confusions overall. Dude, when I'm I'm gonna admit to something that's gonna make Custer mauled. When I made that tweet about Punk confusions being the best tanks that we had seen in the playoffs so far, I forgot about the Washington Justice. And then when Custer was like, "Did you not watch Washington?" I was like, "Fuck it, let's double down." So, you know, I may have been on some hot shit that day, but I will say that I still believe the core of that tweet, which was, okay, ignore the Washington Justice, because I forgot about those guys when I tweeted about it. But I still think Fusions and Punk were better than, I mean, who else played so far up until that point? Who else had been, I mean, people like the Toronto Defiant tank line and shit like that. And like the Gladiators, I don't think OG and Space were as good, even. Who had played at that point? And also, I hadn't watched the APAC games yet, so it was a very badly worded tweet. But my point was more so that I think Boston... Wait, when did Boston lose? They lost here. I think Boston were better than the Houston tank line. I think Boston were better than the Vancouver tank line. I think Boston were better than the Toronto and the Los Angeles tank line. And I think Boston were better than the Atlanta Reign in the tank line, in the match that they played in that game. I think you gotta... it was designed to give credit to Boston, but I forgot about the others. Sado and Fury doing monster things, though? Chat. I didn't say it after seeing Fusion play. God damn, man. I only saw it after seeing, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams play. There were 7 teams, and I forgot about one of them, because Washington's was definitely better. I just thought I'd double down on the argument against Custer. But I think they were the second best of the bottom 7 teams. I think they played better than Gator and Hawk. I think if you look back at that game of Gator and Hawk versus Boston, considering we had only seen Gator and Hawk play one series, in that series, I was very impressed with what Fusion and Punk themselves did. Now, they lost the series 1-3, but I think that was for compositional reasons, not because Gator and Hawk outplayed Fusion and Punk. I think Fusion and Punk played really well. I definitely think they were better than, like, Toronto's tank line, for example. Yeah, I thought they were pretty good. You got memed into oblivion on a vast stream for that? Yeah, I kind of forgot about the Justice. But I will stand by that take, though. I think they played better than the OG in Space and Gator and Hawk there. I think the OG in Space and Gator and Hawk looked pretty meh in that first day. I think Gator and Hawk looked better in their game against Paris, for example. But still not amazing. Anyway. Fusions and Punk are actually tanks, though. Toronto had Agilities playing Hog. Bro, Fusions was playing Hog the whole time, pretty much. That's what made it so weird. Like, Fusions played one of the better Hogs out of the bottom-level teams. Fusions played a better Hog than Agilities did. Oh, okay. Wait, Prophet hit the rocket on the tire? Wow. That's pretty good. I don't think that tire would have had the range to be able to kill him anyway. But pretty nice. Do you think the Shock have the best tank line in the world right now? What, across every meta? I don't think it's clear cut. I think Fearless and Void and Sado and Fury would definitely have some things to say about that. But I think they are, at the very worst, top 3. And at their best, you could argue that they're number 1. Thanks for the 500 bits, Glock Lesnar. Why are they playing Adora? I don't know. I have no idea. Where the fuck is Godsby? Was Godsby ill or something? Why would you play Adora in this meta? Doesn't make sense. You telling me Godsby can't play Reaper? That can't be true. Cannot be true. Jester's moved over to the ball here. The bomb gesture in. Mines placed. This doesn't look like Seoul are going to win at all. This looks like Seoul are playing pretty poorly. Profit over onto the Ash as well. I mean, this is just clown territory at the moment. Oh, they let Marvel get back in the mech. Oh, no, 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 no. Shadow catches Profit. Nano onto Marvel, though. Makes a bit of space. Architect. Did he get hacked there? Yeah, he got hacked. Ugh. Flux. But the Flux itself is probably not going to be that important. Catches on one player. Profit. Can he die? Yep. Nice from Kyoku. Did the Seoul Dynasty really turn this? Toby kills Gushue. For fuck's sake, man. This is a mess. But I think they're really missing the damage from Adora. God almighty. Why would you not run Godsby? I would have loved seeing Sashin and Kyoku on Hog Zarya. That would have been a lot of fun, actually. Sashin's got a really good hog. That would have been fun, actually. EMP, but Creative has died. If Hangzhou can stay alive, there's still chances for them in this fight. No, maybe not. The res. Profit gets brought back into the fight. Hangzhou are just throwing themselves into a messy engagement now. Running the Tracer and the Reaper. Tracer Reaper has been played at various times in APAC, and I have always hated it. Always hated it. Because the Tracer is designed to, generally speaking, the Tracer is designed to try and like get into the backlines and utilize mobility, and the Reaper just fails to do that. The Sombra Reaper is great because it's a frontline shredder. The Tracer Reaper could just shred the front lines, but people tend to play it more like a dive. Which I think the Reaper then just becomes so useless. Oh god. This is just Papega levels of gameplay. Marvel throws out the self-destruct up onto the high ground just to try to get back into the mech safely, which he is able to do. Bob's ready, chucks that one out, does Profit, now looks to reroute, reapproach from a different angle so that he's not predictable. Bionate from Creative finds Architect. This is so disappointing from the Spark. So horribly disappointing. Oh, they do kill Creative and Marvel's weak. They can demech Marvel. Did they knock him off the side as well for the kill? Yeah, they did. Okay. How should I have turned this around? Generally speaking, though, this round should never have been close, I think. Seoul just went to a totally messy composition, and Hangzhou just ran at them over and over again, just so sloppy and chaotic. That was some bad Overwatch being played there. Why is Profit so good at the video game? Profit is very good at the video game. I mean, Profit didn't have many pop-off moments on the Ashe, but he just played for consistent damage. I don't think he really did that much, but He looked okay. What am I doing to my eye? Just prodding a pen into it for fun. Just so that I can feel something, because this map was taking my brain and turning it to mush. Okay. Wow. Well, Seoul are just going to win this opening engagement then. Hangzhou are going to run the Sombra Tracer. Yeah, I don't mind the Sombra Tracer or the Sombra Reaper. Prophet getting so cheeky down there. Sleep onto Gushui. Where are the hacks coming out? Did Bebe just hook... Did Gesture just hook Bebe? Yeah, he did. Fucking hell, man. Nice hook. That's the thing. Like, even if you play the counter comp to these, like, Hog Zarya or Hog Diva compositions, sometimes they can just clutch. You know, they just hit a hook. They just hit a hook. They hit a headshot. I mean, they're not running an Ashe at the moment, so they're running a Pharah, but a lot of the time you'll see it run with an Ashe, and if they just hit the heads, they're going to win. Same with the hooks. All of the APAC games with Seoul feel like bad Overwatch. That might be because the APAC teams just haven't figured out an effective way of dealing with what Seoul are doing. The hack onto Marvel. Now you kill Gesture. That's pretty decent. Prophet DMX QOQ. EMP only catches Marvel. Nice nice nano boost as well to be able to keep him alive. Creative dies. But Seoul are able to just stay solid on the point a little bit. Prophet is just uncontested and pounding because it takes too long to kill Gesture and Marvel, so the Pharahs get infinite value. This is the same shit that happens with the Washington Justice. You know, you try your hardest to turn up the tempo and play as fast and aggressive into the Hog Zarya or Hog Diva as possible, but you just can't kill them that quickly. And so, if you have a good Pharah player or a good Ashe player, the fight gets drawn out longer and longer, and they're given more and more opportunities to find picks. It's a surprisingly effective way of playing Overwatch.
They've got to respect the Pharah. Like, Bebe has to swap over to Ana at least. Somebody has to do something. Architect even, you know, at his own...
You can't really allocate resources to dealing with the Pharah, though. Like, Wolf is saying at the moment, someone has to deal with this Pharah. But you can't... Like, who? If you swap onto something like a McCree, you're just ruining the whole purpose of your comp. If you swap onto something like the Ana, you're just putting someone so vulnerable in the backline. And, what, you're going to shoot the Pharah with the Ana? Like, that's not a counter. You're just ruining your own composition trying to counter theirs. So you kind of have to just leave the Pharah to do their job and hope you can kill the people on the ground quick enough. I mean, the other option is to try and run a Pharah of your own and run a mirror composition, I think. But I don't actually think anyone has come up with a good counter to Pharah Hog compositions. It's the same kind of stuff when the Washington Justice plays. Has anyone played a good counter comp to Pharah Hog? Did Shock run some kind of rush comp that beat it? I don't think they did. Maybe Zen to burn the tanks faster? But you can't just sub in a Zen. Like, playing Zen Lucio in that comp, you're gonna die. You don't have the healing. The Zen himself has got no one to peel. The Zen isn't mobile, so he's not going to run with the rest of your team. Like, you can't just sub heroes in willy-nilly to counter your opponents because they just ruin what your own composition is designed to do. I think it is so hard to counter those Pharah Hog Sombra comps.
I think we will see a substitution going to the second map. I think Adora will get pulled out, and we'll see more of that Sombra Ashe, but I don't blame them for trying the Reaper strategy. It's very strong. But Seoul Dynasty, they're not going to fall for it twice. Very quickly.
I mean, I think you just literally have to try and burn down the tanks on the floor and hope that the Pharah doesn't hit their shots. I don't think there's a better answer than that we've seen. Imagine if Shanghai just whip out Big Daddy Ding. Yeah, I mean, obviously if you counter it with your own Pharah, that's cool. But then your tanks are going to lose on the floor because you don't have the damage to be able to burn down their hog. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. On the maps where it's good to run the Pharah, like Night Market and Garden, I think it might just be the best comp. So maybe people will just try mirroring it.
For the Sigma Hog variation, perhaps they are attacking first, so could just go ahead and change.
Alternatively, I mean,
But,
teams might just... Yeah, no, I think they might just end up mirroring it. Either that, or you'll have the Sombra comps just try and hack one of the tanks and kill them as quick as possible and just hope the fire doesn't hit shots, but that's only somewhat of a counter. It's not a hard counter. Fleder is good, yeah, but Ding Fire is unbelievable. Yeah, Ding is probably the best fire in the game. Some people, I think, would maybe say Jinmu, but I think Ding is the best fire in the game. Wrecking Ball can displace the Hog. I don't think that's... No, I don't think so. I think a Wrecking Ball mirror comp would just get rolled. You don't have the same quality of, or rather quantity of win conditions that the Hog team does. Okay, the Seoul Dynasty are attacking here, playing Hog Sigma double sniper. See, this is the shit that was apparently making its way through the APAC scrims. I think this is what Nero was tweeting about. Hog Zarya double sniper. And obviously it's not double sniper in terms of like Widowmaker Hanzo, but the Ashe is still pretty much a sniper. She plays from the backline, she hits headshots, yada yada yada. She has a scope. Apparently this comp was being played quite a bit in scrims. But I don't really know how it works. And I wouldn't have thought it was particularly effective on attack. So Marvel is just taking space on the point. Why is Hangzhou running Ashe Reaper? What the fuck is this comp? It's just nonsense. Architect slept. Killed in the back. This is awful. This is just really bad Overwatch from Hangzhou.
Yeah, this is gonna be a. Remember when Seoul Dynasty got spawn camped by Reaper and like Prophet was trying to walk up to his face, like through Adora's face to kill the Reaper? What a difference we are seeing now. What a well handling of Reaper we are seeing.
Yeah, and Marvel's kind of just like cleaning up real quick with this.
And this is just god awful. Why is Architect on Genji? What the fuck are the APAC teams smoking? What is this? How is this the best that you can come up with for playoffs, Spark? What the fuck, man? That's... Is that how the rest of this goes? Is that how the rest of this series goes? Just the death of the Hangzhou Spark? Throwing horse shit comps against the wall? I mean, that's just...
Snipers don't have great heal. I mean, outside of the coach gun. I get it, but I think in the long term, it's not going to do you any favors. Like, it's going to be hard to drag and
I don't even particularly like the Seoul Dynasty's comp. I haven't seen too much of it. I don't really know how it works. Obviously, it's going to be fantastic if you get Prophet and Fitz up on the high ground. By the way, Prophet playing long-range hit scan, which I keep telling people that he could play if he needed to. In all likelihood. Oh, we've got Godsby finally in again. Didn't even see that. Of course, it was Godsby playing the Reaper at the beginning, wasn't it? Instead of Adora. Being able to take the space so that Prophet and Fitz can play on the high ground seems like it's going to be quite difficult.
Comes up with 2 kills in the back end while staying alive, and Hangzhou Spark have finally stopped this
Okay, so now Prophet goes over to the Tracer, which is pretty good. They're just going to be able to take the fights on the floor now. And I don't think Architect's going to be able to do too much. He might have a good opportunity here, though, in this next fight to use Blade. Do you think it's a case of Hangzhou relying on an outdated playbook? I think it's a product of the players that they've got. They don't have two hit-scan players. They have Godsby plus Architect. And so Architect is much more comfortable, like Haxal is, on the Genji himself. So if it's an option of playing some kind of aggressive dive comp where he could be on the Sombra or on the Genji, it seems like he personally, like Haxal, tends towards the comfort pick of the Genji, even though the hero isn't particularly good. I mean, Architect theoretically can play hit scan, but he's not great at it. He's just alright at it. He's much more comfortable on the flex DPS roles, like Haxal. So that, I mean, there is no world in which Hangzhou Spark would run Genji if they had access to, like, Godsby and Bazi, for example. I just don't think they... I don't think they... well, maybe they would. Maybe they're still smoking crack, but they shouldn't.
Well, I mean, right now, Seoul is like... They're just running into a brick wall here. Fitz can't win this duel against Godsby without flanking, or without Godsby making a mistake, so... They have to kind of slow push this. Prophet's looking for a pulse. That wasn't it.
Architect was a top Widow in 2018 and was good on McCree every time he was on it this year. I mean, I disagree with both of those statements. He was not in the top level of Widowmakers in year one. He was pretty good on Widow, but he wasn't in the elite level of Widowmaker players. And his McCree's been acceptable, but not fantastic this year either. I mean, the times where the Hangzhou Spark have played it, it's looked... I mean, not as good as Godsby's. And it's looked like they are making do with a player that isn't as comfortable on those roles. Again, his Tracer is not really good. His Tracer is acceptable. Architect is not gonna... Architect is nowhere near as good as Prophet on the Tracer, for example. Or... So he's more like... Okay. Architect is much more similar to Tuba. I mean, Architect is obviously much better than Tuba, but in terms of the... No, actually, that's unfair, because Architect can play the Widowmaker, can play the McCree and stuff like that. But he's primarily a projectile player that's had to learn and pick up those heroes. He should be playing the Sombra right now.
He tries to go for another back cap. He's been doing this pretty consistently. It's going to be getting burned pretty low. Flux comes out solo onto Gushue.
He's like Libero? Yeah, actually, that's a very good comparison. He's pretty similar to Libero. He can be good on the Widowmaker and stuff like that if you give him time on it, but he's not a top-level hit-scan player. Like, Libero could play hit-scan. If his team needed him to, he could. But most of the teams that are actually trying to be good top teams have better options than somebody like Libero. That's more like Architect. That's a very good comparison. Very similar. Wow, Prophet is just playing on the point here and pooping. Prophet just basically walked that in on his own because Hangzhou have nobody to be able to contest him because they're running Architect on Genji again. Architect just loses a 1v1 to Prophet because the hero's been nerfed. Can you please explain Seoul's comp? I don't get the synergy at all. I think Seoul's comp is designed to have Marvel just push himself into positions and then provide like safe areas for Fitz to be able to play from. So instead of, for example, if you think about how the Washington Justice play with the Hog and the Zarya themselves push very deep. Like they go very aggressive because they need to create distance between them and Stitch playing in the backline. They need to create that distance. if you have Marvel with his shield, you don't need to create as much distance because you have a shield, which is a safe place for Fitz to play behind. They also started out with the Sigma because they're playing double sniper. So they're just trying to set up angles to be able to fire from. And try and, like, the tanks are making space for the snipers to set up and do their work, I think is the point of it. I haven't seen too much of this anyway, but... I mean, this comp from the Seoul Dynasty, I think, would plank against a fast dive comp from the Hangzhou Spark. Like, if the Hangzhou Spark wanted to run, again, oh my god, he doesn't stop talking about it, the Sombra Tracer. If they wanted to run Sombra Tracer and they got a hack onto Marvel or a hack onto Gesture, the synergy is just, you're right, it's not there as much as the Hog Diva or the Hog Zarya comps. It doesn't have that same kind of peel for each other. So if they wanted to play fast and aggressive, I think the Hangzhou Spark would be able to. But instead, they're opting into the long-range hit scan mirror when Godspeed doesn't have the same level of support from his team. And the Genji, which... The Genji is just worse than the Tracer or the Sombra. Oh, what a stick. Long-range stick from Prophet. Prophet is so good at the Tracer. It's just so fun watching him play.
So they can't keep him protected at all from any projectiles. Architect just gets ripped to shreds. I'm curious.
I hate this. Oh my god. I don't know why they didn't use the nano. I mean, I just don't know why. Maybe because they're looking to save it for something else, but I don't know who else you're going to be nano in here. Gushue, QQ. I mean, those aren't big nano targets. Surely if you're running the Genji, you're giving the nano, right? But whatever. Hangzhou are playing so poorly. I think there are some positives you can look at here for the Seoul Dynasty in terms of the way that they played on map 1. They're just basically being given a free map 2. This is bad. You did this to yourself? You could be watching Shanghai Dragons versus New York right now? Yeah, I could. Okay, so let's take a look at the comps that they're running this time. So they're running the long-range hit scan plus the Sombra. This can be pretty good from the Hangzhou Spark. Obviously, it's a slower-paced composition compared to the Sombra Reaper or Sombra Tracer. But the idea is you're taking space, you're making room for Godspeed to hit shots, yada, yada, yada. The Seoul Dynasty's comp... How are these comps going to interact? I mean, Prophet's going to have to play pretty scared of Godspeed, but Godspeed's also going to have to kind of play scared of him. If Godspeed tries to get in a good position to shoot the rest of the Seoul Dynasty, Prophet's going to be free in the sky. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but again, if I saw what the Seoul Dynasty were running on defense, I would not be running Godspeed on the long-range hit scan for this opening.
I think Hangzhou would love for there to be a Reaper on the side of the Seoul Dynasty, considering how it looked for them.
Godspeed could just clutch this with a random kill on Prophet or Toby or Creative or somebody. It's a nice hack on Creative, but there's no real opportunity to follow up. In fact, why am I even saying shit like it's a nice hack on Creative? It's not. It's a dumb target to go for because you've got nobody else that can follow up on it. You're not playing dive. You're playing slow paced. So it doesn't make sense that Architect would prioritize hacking Creative. Architect should be playing the front lines, should be trying to charge up his EMP as quickly as possible, and should be trying to hack Gesture and Marvel. That's what he should be going for. It's not a nice hack on Creative. It's a nice hack on Gesture. Gesture's Hog is pretty insane, actually. I agree with Wolf there. Woo! That's nice, though. Architect should really be able to charge up his ult fairly quickly. I know he's playing into a shield from Marvel, but there will be many opportunities to be shooting Gesture here. Nice hack. That's a good hack. But there's no follow-up because they're not playing a Reaper or a Tracer. So, wait, why would you nano Architect? I mean, that must have been a mistake. That's pretty good, though. I mean, the EMP gets farmed. They wedge the Seoul Dynasty into a small area. Get the kill in the end. Okay. Pretty decent once the EMP was online for the Spark.
So 4 minutes 45 seconds now for the Hangzhou Spark.
Ooh, boy, oh boy.
To go. Profit's gonna swap
If Shanghai stomps Seoul, NYXL definitely beat them.
Seoul Dynasty could very
I mean, I haven't seen Shanghai or New York play yet, so I'll reserve judgment. But, wait, no, I have seen New York play. I just watched New York play. I just fucking watched an entire series of them playing against Chengdu. I don't know, man. I don't think that New York played very well against Chengdu, so I'm hoping that New York did play very well against Shanghai because you guys are all saying it was a really great match. So I'll reserve my judgment until then, but I expected APAC to be ahead of the meta because Shanghai is over here, but
exit safely there. Gushue, however, not finished all
they don't look ahead
without Bebe.
from the teams that I've seen so far.
They don't want to keep playing forward. So there's the res from Mika.
I haven't seen the top 3 teams play yet, so I really shouldn't jump to conclusions, but
Side control Fitz is even swapping over to the Widow. They really want to double down on sniping from high ground and having that sort of control over the point.
Gesture does get hacked. Can't get that interrupt yet, but Fitz crucially.
so Seoul Dynasty is still running this double sniper kind of thing.
Second one is Godspeed will die.
Gesture is killing it on this hog,
Down
by
that
the
line
way.
of sight.
Here's, yeah. So Hangzhou are playing attack here. They need to deny space away from the double snipers. That's quite difficult. I mean, double sniper was always really powerful here on Hollywood. There's just so much high ground that you have to be able to take. You push one sniper off, the other one's going to be able to get into position and start shooting you. So it's the kind of comp that is pretty hard to deal with, especially if Fitz is hitting really nice shots like that. Did he hit the shot at the end on Bebe too? Look at Prophet. It's just free to farm with that Sigma shield up top. This is a very hard comp to displace on defense.
He's playing Roadhog like a main tank.
It wasn't that difficult in my opinion to deal with on attack. But when Seoul is defending, they're really going to struggle. Or rather, Hangzhou are really going to struggle.
Just start ripping him apart. And below half HP needs to get topped up.
And here, the Tracer isn't really that helpful. Here's where you should be running a Reaper, I think. Because the Reaper can actually access the high grounds more easily than the Tracer can. I mean, also, if Genji was in her previous state, if Genji was in his previous state, Genji would also be a great pick here, but he hasn't. He's been nerfed to hell. But I don't think running Godspeed into 2 snipers is the play. Oh, wow! That was nice. Seoul Dynasty can always just rotate 1 tank to the floor and 1 tank up top to be able to help the backline and the snipers. So everyone's sitting on the high ground. Hangzhou could also counter this, though, by going a hog kind of comp themselves and just pushing the payload. You know, they could even play a Reaper kind of composition and try and push the payload as well. If you stay directly underneath the snipers, they find it difficult to be able to find those kind of angles. I mean, it would be risky because you're not doing anything to try and pressure the snipers at all, but you could try and force the Seoul Dynasty to fight on the payload. Architect goes to Genji again. Architect on Genji.
Okay, well, Godspeed comes up with a really nice pick there. Takes down Fitz, and not seeing a res come out yet from Toby, so...
Jess just slept. Could be useful here. Nano on to Architect. Could be good, actually. I mean, you're not going to find any value out of the Genji unless he's nanoed, but when he's nanoed, you might find something. They got a few picks. Try and move the payload forward a little bit, but they haven't really done much. And these snipers are going to be right back up on the high ground.
Team fight. There's a longer team fight with several different dive attributes to it, but that's, I think, the pick they really needed. Gave Godspeed space.
If you are determined to run Architect on the Genji, which you shouldn't do, but if you are determined, you should run Godspeed on the Sombra. And you should just full-on commit to playing aggressive on the high ground and trying to kill the snipers. But I don't think that's the best idea. But if you're going to run an Architect on the Genji, I feel like you have to commit. You can't just go halfway in. Okay, Dragon Blade. Toby just reses whatever pick you get with the Dragon Blade anyway. Prophet's going to be up on the high ground. Creative weak. Oh, nice sleep from Creative. Oh, they still get the kill. Possibly winnable. No, no way. Very bad map from Hangzhou. But you could see there, I mean, for the person that was asking what is the synergy with this composition, you can see how good this comp is on Hollywood point B defense. Like the point B defense, like I don't know, like, yeah, this is a pretty good idea of it. When you have all of these people up on the high ground, and when Fitz is playing the Widowmaker as well, if he wants to play that, it's so hard to be able to push these guys. You're jumping into a Hog or a Sigma, plus an Ashe who has a coach gun, and you're trying to dive these targets from the low ground. That's tough. That's really tough. Now, if you decisively take point A and you can take high ground control early, that's a good way of being able to counter it, I think. But otherwise, this comp does actually seem to be pretty decent on Hollywood point B. I could imagine it being decent on... Maybe not, actually. I was going to say Volskaya, but Volskaya is a bit more wide open. And you can't only play on the high ground. I mean, the point is on the floor. You can just play the objective a bit more. I could see some version of that comp being run on there. Gibraltar? No, I don't think so. I think it's too easy for the Tracer to access the high grounds on Gibraltar compared to Hollywood. Like, on Hollywood, the big deal on Hollywood is that you need to go on a fucking elevator to get to the high ground. There aren't really that many other maps where the high ground you cannot access unless you take an elevator. Most places have stairs. You scammazed my hot take. The Ashe Rifle Owl skins are the best owl weapon skins in the game. Changed my mind. I have no idea what you're talking about, because I don't pay any attention to skins. Rack City, thanks for the 10 months, though.
Right? And sure, Lucio can help you with the dive, the defensive, kind of...
Okay. Wait, what?
Here, right? I mean...
So, wanting to play up close and personal and stray away from those long sight lines.
Yeah, I mean... You would think that you just have to have an Ashe here, right? I mean, what is the function of the Lucio even in this composition? They're just playing for attack. They're playing for Reaper attacks.
I mean, I guess I'll give Wolf the benefit of the doubt and just imagine that he hadn't seen too much of this composition at this point. But I mean, clearly the Hangzhou Spark are just running a defensive dive composition here. I think Bebe can get away with running the Ana on the defense, even though I was, roasting Jonak for doing it previously. Oh my god, Gushway's so weak. Hangzhou are just looking for hacks to aggressively engage onto the Seoul Dynasty as they come in. They really need to try and get onto Fitz and hack Marvel, I think. Fitz and Creative, if they can dive them as they're coming in through the choke point, that's huge. Hangzhou's target calling is so poor.
He does live, and that's going to give Bebe a nano here, pretty much.
IDK dies, the first casualty to... Did they TP Creative onto the high ground? Did I miss that? Did they TP Creative on the high ground? That's so nice. That's so creative. I really like that. Oh, great sleep. Great sleep. I mean, I think Hangzhou really fucked those engages up, though. I mean, clearly we've seen the Hangzhou Spark composition work really well on defensive Anubis when you just play aggressive. And it's not just playing aggressive, it's actually finding targets and focusing them down and diving them. Asajju with the dad jokes already? Yeah. Hangzhou just seem so uncoordinated. You find a target, you engage onto them. You find Fitz, or Toby, or Creative, or you find a hack onto Marvel or Gesture and try and pressure one of the tanks. Oh, Gushue got slept and bionaded as well. Oh, and he's getting body blocked. Wow, that's so nice. Architect in the meantime has found kills on Toby and Gesture, so that's pretty good. making good use of the space that Goucher provided, but 5 minutes in the time bank. It just seems inevitable. It is inevitable. Thoughts on Creative's play? He's played really well so far. Yeah, some great moments. Your top 4 team got smacked yesterday. Yeah, I haven't seen that game yet. I'm interested to see what comps they ran and stuff like that. I thought the Charge would be alright in this meta. I actually had Chargers being the 3rd best team in APAC in the playoffs, behind both Shanghai and New York. I thought New York would probably be better. But, yeah. Not a good weekend by the look of it for Paris or Guangzhou. Summer Showdown winners, not great in the playoffs. Architect caught. QQ bomb. Gesture caught in it as well. Bionated. Unable to heal. The Reaper Ash from Seoul. Why? Why though? Why would you not run Sombra Ash here and just get a big EMP? I think the Hog comps generally are pretty bad at attacking on Assault though, because you normally don't have a big ult combo to be able to win. Which is why I like the Justice's Zarya, Hog, and Sombra, because it does give you that big combo to be able to team wipe, to be able to finish out assault maps and stuff like that. Okay, big EMP coming out from Architect. The Bionade that came out previous as well had basically already won the fight though. Not that it's a bad thing, but they've now taken 2 minutes off the clock for the Dynasty here. I think Dynasty should definitely be playing the Sombra. Wait, why is Toby on the break? What is this? So Toby was on the Mercy to be able to get reses up, pocket fits, and Toby now goes over to the break. What the fuck is Soul's comp? It's like they're just trying to pick heroes that counter the Sparks dive. It's like they're like, oh, Reaper's good against dive, right? Oh, Brig's good against dive, isn't she? Like, there's just no thought for like, how do you win? How does the Seoul Dynasty win a fight? The only way they win with this comp is if the Spark run into them over and over and over again. Seoul Dynasty have no way of creating a win unless Fitz just hits a billion headshots. The only way that... And hooks, I suppose. But that's so unreliable. They don't have any win condition. They just have a way of stopping the Hangzhou Spark winning sometimes. If Seoul Dynasty are 3-0ing all of the APAC teams running this kind of stuff, the APAC teams would be shook playing against Washington. This is like a ranked game. This is the kind of role swaps that you would see in a ranked game, where people are like, oh, that Winston's doing too much, I'm swapping to Reaper. That's the kind of stuff that you just never see in pro play, because people at the pro level understand how comps interact with each other. Bob on the point. Gesture trying to get a hook. Nano on to Profit. Where is Profit? I mean, this is just chaos. I can't tell what's happening at all. But Hangzhou just put a nano boost onto Gushui, and now they're killing everybody. Can you explain the difference between the dive that APAC runs and the dive that NA runs? Well, the dive that NA runs has the Moira and the Reaper, and it's not a dive. It's designed to just shred front lines. It applies a shit ton of pressure to the front line. You build up your EMP really quickly. If you overstep even slightly with the Winston, you get blown up. So it's a very slow-paced kind of battle between the front lines. You don't dive. You don't try and kill the back line. The APAC teams so far have been running a lot of Tracer with the Sombra, which I don't dislike. You can do the exact same thing where you just blow up the front lines, try and kill the tanks. They've been playing a lot more Ana, though, which I don't think is particularly good and just provides an opportunity for the enemy Tracer to even get stuff done. But also, we haven't really seen any mirrors of these comps playing against each other. Most of the time, people are running this stuff against some team that has an Ashe. And that, in that sense, it makes a lot more sense because you're not going to really get too much value out of the Reaper diving into an enemy backline to deal with a fucking Zen and an Ashe. But you will get big value out of a Tracer and a Sombra doing the same thing. Philadelphia Fusion have played some Tracer Sombra as well against Ashe Zen Mercy teams. They tried it against, or they ran it today against... Fuck, who were they even playing against? The Valiant. They tried it against the Valiant and they just crushed them immediately. So, yeah, I mean, the difference, in my opinion, is that the APAC teams are not playing it very well. That's how it could be summed up. The APAC teams are, so far through the tournament, so far from what I've seen, and I haven't watched NYXL play Shanghai and stuff like that, so I'm a day behind when it comes to, or, yeah, a day behind when it comes to APAC, but they're not playing it as well. But also, I mean, I'm comparing the Philadelphia Fusion to the Hangzhou Spark, so it's apples and oranges, really, isn't it? EMP, gesture. This is, like, the only way that the Seoul Dynasty win is if the Hangzhou Spark int into their comp. Guess what they're going to do? EMP, they get the first pick, and they're like, no, that's not enough, let's int. And just run in even deeper. Gushue is so deep. Bebe is so deep. They're pushing into the Brig backline. The Reaper who's just stood there. They've just given a bunch of space to the Seoul Dynasty. Oh, the sound barrier from IDK only catches onto him and QOQ because they're staggering the point. I thought the APAC teams would be ahead, but they are clearly behind. I mean, maybe New York and Shanghai are ahead, but this gameplay that I'm witnessing right now is clearly behind North America.
Oh, definitely. And for Hangzhou, harassing,
Don't the Spark have Ado? Why are they playing Adora? I mean, don't the Spark have Godspeed? Why are they playing Adora? Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. The only reason that you can logically come up with as to why they're running Adora is because they want to run Reaper. But because they end up playing so much fucking Tracer anyway, and they lose their ability, even if they wanted to play long-range hit scan, it cannot be a good choice to sub Adora in to play these heroes. It can't be. Godspeed is a better Tracer, and he must be competent at being able to play the Reaper. I don't believe that someone like Godspeed couldn't play Reaper. Read the hot take. This one's going to be questionable, but here it goes. Decay would perform far better than Raw on traditional tank heroes such as Rhine and Winston. What possible evidence are you basing that off of? What possible evidence are you basing that on? I mean, there is just no... I mean, I can't argue against that because fuck knows, maybe, but probably not. I mean, that is a flaming hot take, yeah. Based on the fact that Raw is bad. I mean, you could just say that about anyone then, couldn't you? You'd just be like, oh, I think that, what? I think that Prophet would play a better main tank than, oh, well, I suppose they have to be on the same team, don't they? I think that Dante would play a better main tank than Muma. I mean, still, I don't agree with that take. I don't think that's true. Who else? I think that Jerry would play a better main tank than Fusions. No, don't believe in that either. Who are some other teams that have very good players on teams with bad main tanks? I think that Taimu would play a better main tank than whoever they had on main tank at the time. I think the Rui Hong would play a better main tank than Miro. I mean, all of these were incorrect. All of these were incorrect. Surefour better than Numlocked? I mean, again, no way. You can't believe these things. Swoosh would play a better main tank than Reinforce. Oh my god! That did happen. I mean, that wasn't Reinforce, though. Reinforce didn't get benched for Swoosh, did you? Wasn't that after your time, Johnny? That Swoosh... Did they really... Did I misremember that? Did they genuinely kick you and move Swoosh over? I thought you'd already left the team when Swoosh became a main tank. Oh, wowee. Yeah, well, I guess it's happened in the past, you know? Oh, the 2017 World Cup. Good God. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, what you said that NA was ahead of APAC, but you didn't say why. Okay. Here's some... All right. First of all, this is only at the end of day 2. So I haven't seen New York or Shanghai Dragons play or the Guangzhou Charge. But, oh no, I have seen New York play. I saw New York play just now, played against the Chengdu Hunters. So I haven't seen Shanghai or Guangzhou play. Those are the only 2 teams I haven't seen play in APAC. But apparently New York got a lot better when they played against Shanghai. So, you know, take this statement with a pinch of salt because I haven't seen all of the APAC games yet. But from what I've seen so far, I truly believe that these teams are behind the top of North America right now, whereas I thought they might be a little bit ahead. For starters, the way that these teams are playing the Sombra Tracer kind of compositions, they're not playing the Sombra Tracer dive very effectively. I mean, we've only really seen the Hangzhou Spark play that. We saw a little bit of that. Oh, no, we saw quite a bit of that being played by the NYXL because they were trying to counter Chengdu, but they were playing it with Jonak on the Ana, and the Ana got caught out a lot, and Sabiobi was making more flank plays on the Tracer instead of just picking a target and diving on them. It's a very aggressive composition that's designed to catch your opponents off guard, find somebody, pick them off, destroy them. The way that the Philadelphia Fusion and the Mayhem, and to some extent the Valiant as well, were playing that composition is much better than what we've seen so far from the Hangzhou Spark and the New York Excelsior on that comp. Now, when it comes to the Hog compositions, I mean, I don't think that Seoul Dynasty... I mean, you just take a look at their attack on point B here of Temple of Anubis. That Hog composition that they ran with the... What was it? Ash, Reaper, and then... Anna Brig in the backline. I mean, that is just nonsense. It wouldn't get torn to pieces by any other top team because you don't want to directly engage it, but it just has very few win conditions. You compare that to how the Washington Justice are playing and how coordinated they are with being able to set up different wins for themselves and how good they are at being able to stop other teams breaking that comp as well. It's night and day between the two of them. So it's very possible that Shanghai Dragons are still the best team in the world, even though, you know, these teams, 4 and 5, aren't very good. But I thought that these teams would be ahead of a lot of the North American teams. But I think if you put these teams up against the Mayhem would probably win. And that would also apply to the Valiant as well. And, you know, maybe Atlanta Reign and the Gladiators as well. It gets much more questionable once you get to those kind of positions, but I think this is one of the few times where I've looked at the middle of the pack in North America and thought that they look significantly better than the middle of the pack in APAC. I think Seoul look good with this comp, though. I think Seoul just don't look very good when they start messing around, putting fucking Toby on... what do you call it? Toby on... Brig and stuff like that, and running like the Ash Reaper. That is just nonsense. And it's these kind of hero picks that make me think that APAC still thinks the meta is like way looser than it actually is.
Can they kill the Pharah? Can they, deal with the follow-up that we're going to see?
That's because this meta was built for NA East Coast players. Yeah, maybe.
Nano's out already. Gushway's pushing in. But everybody's split. He's not getting the value that he wants.
It doesn't really have anybody they can cleave down. Toby finishes off IDK. Another barrage from Prophet. I'm having deja vu.
This is the same kind of issue, though, again, where Hangzhou Spark are running it theoretically a countercomp against what the Seoul Dynasty are running. And okay, the Hangzhou Spark aren't running it particularly well, but the time it takes the Hangzhou Spark to kill one of Gesture or Marvel or Fitz or get into the backline or Creative, by the time you've actually got into position and executed your dive, you've given so much time for Fitz to land a headshot, or Gesture to land a hook, or Prophet to land a bunch of rockets. You just can't play fast enough to counter the Hog Farah comps. And I think that applies in a very similar way to when I was talking about it on Li Jiang. It's impossible to turn the tempo up enough to stop the Seoul Dynasty's comp getting value. And it's the same for the Justice when they play their Hog Zarya comps with Tuba on the Farah. You just can't kill them fast enough. You cannot kill a Hog tank line fast enough, a Hog plus another off-tank tank line fast enough to be able to deny value over time. Like, on these rotations, they are likely to get a pick with Fitz or Prophet or Gesture. And even if you perfectly do execute your entrance and your engagement, there's still ways that the Seoul Dynasty can clutch by getting some crazy hook or crazy headshot in the middle of the team fight. I think that's what people are really struggling with against the Justice too, is that even if you come up with the right counter comp, they still just have so much clutch potential in longer team fights. And it's impossible to make the team fights short team fights against a Hog and a Zarya or a Hog and a Diva. So even though you might eventually beat them, it just takes so much time because shit keeps going wrong.
The jump forward, yeah, the bubble comes in. They get the shutdown onto Prophet. Unable to use that barrage. The cap will be coming through.
What do they need to do to win? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think there's a good counter comp against the Farah Hog Zarya or Farah Hog Diva. I think there's only some points of the maps where you can run it. It's not something you can run everywhere. But where you can run it, it's really hard to counter. Because I think Hangzhou are basically running... Like, if Hangzhou had a Moira here, and maybe a Reaper instead of the Tracer, but I don't really mind the Tracer that much, especially when you're considering you need the extra mobility to be able to get into the backline and challenge Fitz and stuff like that. In fact, yeah, probably the Tracer is better than the Reaper. Anyway, if they were running a Moira instead of the Ana, so that you aren't worried about the Moira getting killed from the Farah spam rockets, for example, you're less likely to die from the headshots coming out from the Ashe because you stay close to the rest of your team, that kind of stuff. If they were running the Moira, I think they're basically running as good a counter comp as you can get. The only, I mean, then it comes down to how well you play it, like who are you getting the hacks on, how are your engagements going, can you manage to play sightlines effectively enough to not get hit by Fitz or Prophet? But unless you're perfect, even the counter comp isn't really that good. I think it's possible that more teams will start trying to mirror the Hog Farah stuff when it gets pulled out, because coming out with the counter is very hard. Like, if you try and run a hit scan to deal with the Farah, you ruin you just playing too slowly. And then you're playing so slowly that Gesture and Fitz and Prophet are going to get value over time, more than you are. So you can't run the hit scan. If you try and run like a counter Farah, for example, again, you're just playing too slowly. You might as well run the Hog yourself. So you have to play some kind of high-tempo composition. But the fastest you can possibly play is something like the Sparker running, but with the Moira. But even that, I don't even think it's fast enough. Could you do it with a ball? I mean, does a ball even help? I don't think it helps. Seoul countered it versus the Charge with double sniper Ana and I think Sigma. Well, I mean, that's highly map dependent, isn't it? You can't run double sniper in most scenarios, so I'll have to comment on that when I watch the map itself. Why is it when Outlaws played Farah, everyone including you shit on them, but when Seoul and Justice play it, it's great? What's the difference? I think the Outlaws just played it wrong. Because, and also, I mean, it was the very first matches, so we didn't really have a good read on what the meta looked like. And because Houston Outlaws played the composition badly, it was hard to tell that there was any positive to playing the comp. Also, though, the Outlaws played it on every single map It's not good on every single map. It's only good on some very specific maps. And they played it into an Ashe constantly, into an Ashe Mercy composition repeatedly. And even though the Ashe is not particularly good if you're trying to like push, for example, here on Anubis, because it's just too slow and you can't see the Pharah all the time, on the maps where Houston played it, it was really effective because hydration was just floating through the air towards them. So I think Houston they had like some inkling that this comp was going to be good, but they fucked it up by playing it on too many maps in too many positions. It's only a good comp on certain maps, like Lijiang Night Market, Lijiang Garden. It actually seems to be pretty good here on the defense of Anubis, which I hadn't really thought about whatsoever. Where else? Where else have we seen it be effective? We actually saw Tuba run it to some decent consistency on Lijiang Control Center, but I'm not confident that you can make it work all the time there. I think that's more to do with just Decay being a fucking nut. Double Sniper in Korea, good on her. I actually liked the double sniper look that the Seoul Dynasty had on the defense of Hollywood, but I don't think there's many maps where you can run it very well. It works super well on Hollywood B because you can just take the high ground, and the only way you get on the high ground is via elevators, so there's nothing you can really do about the snipers up on the high ground. Would it work on Busan? What, the Pharah or the... I mean, I don't think the Pharah would work very well on Busan, no. No, I don't think Pharah would work on Busan. Unless you meant the double sniper. But again, I don't think the double sniper would work on Busan very well either, because your snipers have great sightlines, but they're always on the low ground. Maybe though. I don't think so. You meant the Pharah? No, I don't think the Pharah would work on Busan because it's just so open. Like anywhere you want to run the Pharah would be in a sightline of some kind of hit scan player if they wanted to do that. The whole reason you can't counter the Pharah with the hit scan on where people are running it is because the angles just don't work at all. You end up having to play so slowly looking for that pick that you just lose the team fight overall. What is causing Echo not to be played? It's a good point, actually. I always forget that Echo is even in the hero pool. Honestly, I think Echo might have even been viable a couple of times during this series, and I haven't even thought about it. Like, you know all the times when teams are trying to force the Genji? Echo might just be a straight-up better pick than the Genji. Whenever Adora and Architect are trying to force that shit. Echo might just be better. I mean, I still don't think it's good, but it might be better than that. Echo's got such a large hitbox, and against hit scan players, you just get fucking tapped to death. And it's not very effective to have a Mercy pocket them. I don't think it's very good in this meta, but it's arguably better than running the Genji. Spark are playing Genji again, but it's Adora. Spark were fucking lost in this series. Absolutely lost. What a mood killer to finish on this one. What a mood killer to finish on this match that was just Papega tier gameplay.